All right. Look at that. Hell yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. I love our new intro. Look at us, hope and change. We're not afraid of change.
Jazz it up a teeny bit. That's all.
Jazzing it up, bringing the fun, working from the outside in.
Hey, kids.
Hey, fellow kids.
What's up? I should put my hat back with the what's that guy's name? I forget his name.
Steve
but he was
Buscemi.
Buscemi.
Oh, yeah.
Who was awesome. I randomly, when I went to New York for the first time, saw him on the streets just having a cigarette outside of his place.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I was walking in the rain on I don't know, Madison Square, that area.
Right.
And I think he has a studio there apparently, but he was just sitting out there just smoking a cigarette.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, hello fellow kids. We're jazzing up our intro. How do you like it? I like it. Pat, how are you, my friend? How was your week?
I'm good. So my boss has been gone the last 2 days, which means I'm doing electrical work solo, which is good and bad, but
okay.
I've enjoyed it, sort of, It's a nice
Yeah.
vacation anytime you don't have to be on your best behavior.
Right. And that way you get to wear your mask without anybody making you feel weird about it. Just your clients.
Yeah, yesterday I had another guy, old guy, sweet guy, very nice. But he and this is the one exception I'll give. It was just me and him in his house, and he had hearing problems, and he's like, you could take the mask off, because he couldn't understand what I was saying without the mask. So I caved in that instance. I'm like, this guy's he's living a life of solitude.
Yeah.
It's very unlikely. And it's just one person. So we all have to take our own risk on this stuff.
I know. It's so hard because then, like, if you let your mind go through that, it's like, well, maybe everybody he ever interacts with thinks that. So now he's like a vector for all the people who think they're safe with him. And now your bubble's expanded exponentially. That's where my mind always goes. Yeah, right in your hand. I love that you did it right in your hand. Now you've touched your microphone. All I'm seeing is like the spread of the germs everywhere.
Yeah, we're all a mess from this, but my week was good. Yeah. How was your week? More importantly.
Wait, not more importantly, but I don't feel like I heard any like fun details. But is there any other thing you'd like to share apart from your boss being out of town? You did it.
So Lila and I were on a phone call discussing show prep yesterday, and my cat was attacking me for 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's one feisty cat you've got there.
She literally had to listen. I had a whole big thing of cat food trying to keep my cat away from me because he wanted to kill me. And people don't believe me. People think you're being exaggerating. You're exaggerating, when you're like complaining about your cat. And like, I'm not like some little scrawny wimp, but like, I don't want to get clawed in my naked legs by my cat.
So they can
off
be
this attack cat.
Super feisty and hard to deal with, because like you don't want to just like smash them to the ground. You want to do it gently. You're not trying to hurt them, but like to extricate yourself from the clawing can be a little difficult. My week has been really weird because not only is my older son Asher off at college, my younger son Xander is off on a week-long trip to Moab in the desert in Utah. He comes back tomorrow night at like midnight. But so of course the night before, the bus that's going to be packed with all these kids goes, we get a notice from the school, oh, your child has been in close contact with a COVID case. Then about 2 hours later, oh, there have been a few cases of hand, foot, and mouth disease going around just in the 11th grade. And I wrote and I was like, hey, you're about to cram all these kids into a bus. Are there any, because of course nobody wears a mask anymore except for my kid. Are there any precautions that you all are going to take? Or is this just going to be like a, survival of the fittest and a crazy super spreader event? And we passed your email along. Thank you.
So yes, is what they're saying.
So yeah. So he'll be coming back tomorrow night. And, I think I mentioned last week that I bought one of those air purifiers for the house, like a HEPA air filter. And it's always it's supposed to be 40 and below. I'm so bad with all this, and I'm sure, welcome everybody, and all you who know more can tell me what it all means. But like for a very good purified Lord of the Flies field trip, totally. Air quality, it's supposed to be like 40 something or other and below. So mostly because nobody comes to our house, and but like you see people on airplanes and it could be as much as like 400, 1600 when the air is really not being filtered and purified, right? But 40 and below is like, I think, supposed to be super clean air. Nobody comes in our house ever. It's just the three of us now. We all wear masks when we're indoors in public. So like, I'm fairly confident that the three of us are fine. But all of a sudden yesterday, when nobody was around, I looked and it was up at like 45 and nothing had changed. And I was the only one there. I thought maybe I've got a poltergeist. What do you think?
Well,
why would it just spike all of a sudden?
Your husband does write horror films for a living, so
that's true. So maybe we're being haunted by one of the creatures. But of course, it could just be like the horrible air quality in LA, and maybe I just left the door open too long, and something came in.
I suggest you never get one of those things, the reading things. You don't have one, do you? I don't know.
I don't have that. I mean, but it's like there's a digital display on the air filter, on the air purifier.
Oh, the air, it has its own number.
So that's what's no, but if I had to bring that, like I've seen people say, what is your monitor reflect the sun high? I see you and I don't know, but I will look it up and post about it later because I can't leave to go see. But I can't remember what it was, but it was like very highly recommended by a few different Consumer Reports. I'm sure it's all bogus because of course they all immediately link to Amazon. So it's like, who's getting kickbacks from what? I have no idea. But yeah. Oh, but so people will show sometimes, like epidemiologists who, I follow will show they get into an Uber, right? And the driver says, oh, you don't need to wear your mask anymore. Like, thanks for putting me at my ease. Now you've totally freaked me out. So they'll show, of course, with their mask on, but what the air quality is when they first get into the car, and then they lower the windows. And it immediately, like, it's such a huge effect. Just opening windows and getting some fresh air changes the air quality, like it really improves it. So, yeah. All right. What do you think?
I think we should scare people about COVID some more. Or no, let's do that in this show.
I think we got some stuff. We're going to travel at the speed of science.
Yeah. I hate always talking about COVID, but it's like the press isn't doing it. So it's like, I feel almost obligated to inform people, holy shit, it's dangerous out there. And that's what
I just have to say really quickly, I went to go get my bivalent booster on Thursday. And I was waiting, and now I see that the Novavax nasal one is coming out, so I'm kind of bummed. But anyway, I'll get that eventually.
Oh, they have a nasal one coming? I didn't even know that.
That's the one that they think is really going to possibly, that's the hope, is that that's the one that will end this, because it prevents the virus from actually getting into your system. It kills it before it gets there, which means that, your body isn't fighting it off and all that kind of stuff.
Totally. I think I brought it to your attention. So
you did.
I want the points.
You did. Well, you made it sound like you're
but I didn't know. I didn't know.
You told me about that one.
Well, I told you about the nasal vaccine being a way out, but I didn't realize we were here close and that was
So they've been using it in other places. They approved it here. But for the last month or two, it's only approved for people who have not gotten an initial series of vaccine. So it had to be your initial, right? Which is so dumb. Why? So but just today, they approved it that you can get it even if your initial round of vaccines, if you've had that, you can now get but it still has to, I think, go through a few steps, but it's on its way to being available here. Mary,
I will be getting the shit out of that vaccine.
Yeah, me too. But but going back to your COVID point, so I went to a pharmacy, which is the only pharmacy in town where everybody's wearing masks, even if some of them were surgical. At least all the workers, all the staff were wearing masks. So great. But the man who was giving me my vaccine, he was talking about how his niece, whatever, she's, wants to have babies. And even though her father is an epidemiologist and explained the vaccines and how well they work, she refuses to get vaccinated. And I was saying, I think people just don't realize how serious it is. 11,500 people died last month. And he said, worldwide? So here's this guy who ostensibly is sort of in the know about the vaccines, wearing his mask. He's a pharmacist. He's giving me the boost. 11,500 people died last month in the US. I think 25% of them were fully vaccinated. I don't know boosted, but and he didn't know. I mean, worldwide, are you kidding me? Right. No, in our country. And I think we've already buried 5,000 people this month. What are we, October 19th, in the US, not worldwide. So yes, it very much is still raging all around us.
Yeah, well, that just reminded me of I was at the gas station the other day and I wore my mask in. I'm just going in to pay for some gas. And there's nobody in there. It's just me and the guy working there. And I cough underneath my mask, but it's just because I swallowed something. My throat was a little itchy.
Allergies.
He's like, whoa. He's like, hey, if you're sick, you need to come around. You should come around the outside. We can serve you on the outside, but I can't afford to get sick. And I'm like, but you're not wearing a mask. I get it.
Oh, he wasn't wearing a mask?
He's not wearing a mask, but I coughed underneath my mask. And
right.
At first I'm like, is this guy a Trumper? He's trying to make a point because I'm wearing a mask. It's I don't know. I can't understand it. But if you're really worried about getting sick, you should absolutely wear a mask. That's the number one thing you can personally do.
Yeah. And I see Jill saying that she wears her mask outdoors all the time now just to protect from the particulate matter. And I mean, every day when I look at my phone in LA, it's poor air quality, not because of COVID, just because of, the fires and the pollution and good news all around. Am I making everybody happy?
I think it's time to get to the wheel.
I think it is too. Let's do it.
We will not allow ourselves to get depressed. So
okay, no way. Have a shot.
Happy music or something like that. Here we go.
Let's do it.
Shots.
All right, here we go. We got a wheel. Riots work. Putin puppets. Climate for soup. Handmaids fail. The speed of science and political porn. Let's spin the wheel.
Yeah, baby.
Handmaids fail. What are we going to focus on for the midterms? If you could focus on anything, what would it be? Would it be codifying Roe? If Democrats control enough seats in Congress for Biden to sign the abortion protections into law, he says it's the first thing he'll do. Where have I heard that before?
Now, listen, the last time I didn't really think that it was going to be a big deal. So when I ran on it in every campaign I've ever run, I didn't really know we were actually going to lose Roe. So now that we've lost Roe, I promise you, just like those $2,000 checks.
Yeah.
This is going to happen.
And the $15 minimum wage.
And that.
Yeah. And I mean, the amazing thing is they could, there are several different tactics he could take right now. Obviously, he could use the 50 Democrats he has and his vice president to codify it right now if they wanted to do it before the midterms to show they're actually capable of doing something. They could publish the ERA and that would have the effect of making it law. And it would be challenged, but he could do something. And instead they are so clearly trying to hold it over people's heads and it's not even working.
And you left one thing out. You could actually pressure your two Democrats to vote for it.
Vote blue no matter who.
So over the $15 minimum wage, we know that Biden never met with Joe Manchin on that issue. Yep. Never met with him. They don't even try on these issues.
He gave his wife a plum job, and I don't even remember what the job was, and didn't strip Manchin of his committee chair. I mean, he didn't try to use the bully pulpit at all, because we all know that this is why this is being used. And as everybody is saying, yes, it's sort of fundraise off of, and to hold us all hostage and say, vote for us or you're going to lose your rights. But like, we just did lose the rights. We just lost them. So like, get, hut, let's go, get to work.
It's just really transparent to anyone paying attention that they're saving it solely as an election issue. Like, if you want to win the election, and if the issue really matters and you really need these two Democrats to win, we need two more Democrats. The way you get there is to try and fail, because then you bolster the case that we really did try.
Yeah,
but we need these. We put this to a vote, and Manchin actually voted against it. Sinema voted against it. We did it. We didn't,
shame them, embarrass them.
Yeah, and instead, Pelosi's attitude has always been, and she's said this openly, she won't bring something to the floor that won't get passed.
Right.
So there is you will never be a shamed Democrat. So no matter what you believe,
no, and in fact,
you have no pressure to fall into the party line.
Yeah. She hauled her ass down to Texas to raise money for Henry Cuellar, who's an anti-choice Democrat. So like, nobody believes that she really cares about this issue. Democrats clearly don't. Obama ran on it 10 years ago, right? And said he would do it. And he did have a supermajority, said that he would codify Roe as soon as he got into office within his first 100 days, and was asked about it and said it really wasn't that big of a priority, because they don't actually, if you actually care about people's human rights and their dignity, you don't hold it out as, the carrot and the stick that you're going to take it away. And it's not working, right? So here's 1 month out from the midterm elections. Biden's net approval rating is underwater in 45 states. That's not the COVID map that we normally show. That's Biden's approval.
Well, there's like 100 states, right? So we got like Democrats have like half of them. So we're good.
Yeah. I wish I even knew. I think I mean, obviously it's California, but is the other one, is that Vermont or New Hampshire? I think it's Vermont. Oh God, my geography
there's a gray one.
Right, I see like a light blue one way up there. It's either Vermont or New Hampshire.
Ukraine. I think Ukraine.
Is that the Ukraine? I think it's Australia. Sure. Yeah. So here's Biden's approval rating again. He has a negative 41, that the country is on the wrong track. And right now he's being viewed as a drag on Democratic midterm hope. So people do not want to be seen with him. And in fact, even like corporate Democrats like Tim Ryan is rejecting Biden's, attempts to come help him campaign, because nobody wants to be seen associated with him.
Well, it's interesting because Biden is seen as a drag on the party. So we're seeing articles about how Pete is such a boon for the party. Like Pete Buttigieg is the most requested surrogate on the campaign trail for Democratic candidates in the midterms. And if you read the article,
wait, could you show me the data on that? Pete, what's the data on that?
There is no data whatsoever. What? It's just entirely anecdotal. Obviously, their source is DNC operatives that want him or Kamala to be the next replacement for Biden.
Yeah, here's what they're saying about Kamala. She's already among the most consequential vice presidents in history. Exactly why? And again, that's obviously its opinion, but that's what they're working so hard to do. And meanwhile, in the real world, people are saying the economy, and immigration, and price increases are the biggest issues, the most important issues to them.
It's always the economy.
It's
every single election. It's the economy. And I mean, right now it should be COVID, but like, I think it's like learned helplessness. People know, if you're informed about COVID, neither party's doing shit about it. You know, the Republicans are worse on it, but the downside to the clear fact that they're worse on it is because they're worse on it, the press covers it more, which forces the party that's worse on it to do something.
Right.
Which is how we get some of these protections. But like when you think that the good party, your side,
believe science,
the Raiders, and you wear the Raiders jersey, and you're a Democrat, and it's a D jersey, So when your D Jersey team is like, COVID's over, it's like, where do you, like, who's fighting for us? The progressives aren't fighting for us. I got a beef on that.
Yeah, that's
anyway. Let's stick to the
okay. So
topic,
Democrats right now are being seen as caring most about January 6th, women's rights, environmental, climate change, and guns. And Republicans are being seen as caring about the issues that matter to most of the country: immigration, inflation, and the economy. It's ridiculous. I mean, obviously they care about immigration and that they don't want immigrants to come who aren't white. And they care about the economy because they've already announced that they'll be, giving more tax breaks to their rich friends. But I mean, the truth is Democrats do the same thing. But what a world where those are our two choices.
Absolutely. I mean, to think that as a Democrat, you're stuck with January 6th being everything. Like,
right.
We all know that, like, democracy is on the
ballot,
or whatever, and everything is at stake this election. But like, midterms are about turning out your base by motivating them through achievements, through policies, through what you're going to do if you get elected. And Democrats' only strategy is to run on codifying something that they've done. They've promised to do over and over and over again. They're seen as not fighting on these issues. They're not putting forth legislation. Biden isn't trying to do anything on these issues. They're saving it all for the midterms.
50,
And the reality is, it might work. It might, but it should open people's eyes up to how little they actually care about the issues. Because just because it might work, there's a way to actually make it work, to guarantee we save democracy. You guarantee to save democracy by fulfilling some of your campaign pledges, by attempting really fucking hard right now to do everything you can to stop, to codify Roe. And they're doing the opposite. And because those issues are the top things in the country, the economy, integration, whatever, it doesn't matter that the Republicans are out there arguing against our side. That's turning out their base, because they're speaking to their base. They're saying, these are the issues. These are the issues. These are the issues. So if you're a Republican, you're like, I need to go to the polls because of these issues. If you're a Democrat, you're like, okay, yeah, I know Roe versus Wade is a huge thing in the world, but what are you doing now? You're not doing fucking anything now.
Yeah. And they keep trying to downplay the recession and inflation and how difficult it is for most people in this country just to survive day to day. So they're doing their spin on cable news, but that's not trickling down, because people still know they can't afford gas and food and medical treatment. So there's Bernie out there saying that, yes, Democrats should have the guts to court some Trump voters. And right away, all of the liberals come out and say how, those aren't the right Republicans they want to court. They only want to court the George W. Bush neocon war criminals like David Frum and Nicole Wallace, who has her own show on MSNBC, and the Lincoln Project. Like, those are the Republicans that Democrats feel absolutely fine about courting, but not the people who, and I just always want to remind everybody of this. This was the Fox poll on the night of 2020 election, the general election, where every single, what they call progressive policy, was shown to be majority popular amongst the Fox viewers, right? It was healthcare. It was criminal justice reform. It was the Green New Deal. It was government doing more for you. It was all gun reform. I mean, all of those things. So, again, it's always like the people in power who are really trying hard to pit us against each other. And again, I'm not saying, of course, they're racist. They're racist in the Republican Party. They're racist in the Democratic Party. But like, what's the project? What are we trying to do in this country? Are we really just going to write off half the country as being too racist, knowing that tens of millions of them actually voted for Obama in 2008 and 2012? And then when he didn't fulfill a single campaign promise, he expanded our war in Afghanistan. He didn't even do the public option. He gave us the Heritage Foundation, ACA. Like, that kills people's ability to think that electoral politics has any meaning at all, because you vote for somebody who is, hope and change, and he completely caves to Wall Street, or caves. I don't know if it was caving. He just, enacts Wall Street's vision, and then berates voters for losing hope in electoral politics. It's so cynical.
It is, and the left is rightly disenfranchised, but you can't get them to come out and vote unless you accomplish and try to do something. And and that's where they're failing. So, I mean, the biggest issues are economic issues, right? That's a top issue. Right. So what do we get? We get a lot of propaganda about the economy being okay. We get a lot of stuff about, we've heard of quiet quitting was a thing. They tried to push that, as a narrative. There's the new thing is quick quitting. They're like, oh, you go to a job, you don't like it there, you find out you're treated bad, and you instead of working there for 7 years,
suffering. Why aren't you just suffering
leave in
a
few months? And why shouldn't you? You absolutely should, because we're in a pro-labor time right now, and we need to take maximum advantage of it. So they're writing all these articles to suppress, to try to downplay the power that the labor movement has. And there's another one, overemployment. There's a whole article about overemployment is having 2 jobs. And so the CEO is like, well, how dare anyone working for me have 2 jobs? Well, that's the economy. They're paying their bills.
Yeah.
And capitalism should even encourage 2 jobs, but it's not a working system, which is why you've got 2 jobs.
I just think we should play the thing of Andrew Mitchell pushing back with Pelosi, because I think it's really illustrative of how out of touch everybody is and where their messaging lies. It's really short, but just so you know what they're trying to say right now.
The president has been a very strong supporter of a woman's right to choose. In your preview, you said, why is he waiting until after the election instead of doing it now? We don't have 60 votes in the Senate. If we could get 2 more.
You don't think he could have pushed harder on the Senate last spring?
You think we would have gotten 10 Republican votes? Do you think we would have gotten 10 Republican votes? Oh, come on. Let's with all due respect, the fact is we need to get 2 more Democratic votes to push back the filibuster, and therefore be able, with 51 votes, to enshrine Roe v. Wade into the law.
I mean, are we going to get 10 Republican votes after November?
So wait a minute. So we need 2 votes. We need to replace 2 people so that we can not need the 10 votes. How about 2 people to need the 2 votes? Like the logic is just a complete fail.
It is a complete fail. Also knowing that right now, I mean, it's unlikely that we're going to retain why do I keep doing that? That Democrats are going to retain power in both the House and the Senate. But we've seen what they do, and they have it right now. Like, pressure. I mean, Joe Biden, as embarrassing as it is right now the quote unquote leader of the free world. He does have an enormous bully pulpit. He could use it if he wanted to. And he has not tried once to pressure Manchin and Sinema at all.
And that's the point. So on one hand, Democrats' whole strategy relies on blaming those 2, saying we need some more replacements for them. But you never pressured them. You never lobbied against them in public. You never said a single bad word against them. In fact, you did the opposite. You normalized having somebody who's anti-abortion in your party. You were out, Pelosi's out campaigning for Cuellar at the same time. They're saying we need 1 more vote to save abortion. And she's trying to bring in another anti-abortion vote.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. So, the other way to do it, and, we're always a little hesitant to highlight people who have not been fully on board, but Katie Porter does have some good moments. And I do think that this is the way to deal with it, and to just keep reminding people that the inflation right now is not caused by the $1,400 checks. It is almost entirely caused by CEO greed. So this is Katie Porter.
According to this chart, what is the biggest driver of inflation during the pandemic? The blue is the dark blue is the recent period.
It would be corporate profits.
And what is that percentage?
It is 54%, and that number does stay that level of high if you update that number to more recent numbers as well.
So over half of the increased prices people are paying are coming from increases in corporate profits.
Yes, the unit price index is reflected in corporate profits as opposed to other costs.
And how does that compare to historically, to other periods of inflation or over other periods of economic time?
As reflected there and in other analysis, it is significantly higher in this recovery, 11.5%.
And what is it today?
53%.
So I want to make sure everyone in America understands this chart. What is a unit labor cost?
The cost, wages and associated work costs.
So we could just wages. What is a non-labor input cost?
A variety of things, including maintenance and investments.
Okay, so I have to buy the stuff to make the widget. I have to have a factory. I have to keep the lights on. I have to hire someone to make the widget. That's this stuff. And this is what I add on top.
Where'd we go?
Yeah. Oh. Hey there. Yeah. So like, call them out on their greed. Really show that most of this is just CEOs, Wall Street grabbing as much wage as they can. Just like stealing labor.
But they can't do that because their donors want that. Like that is seen as a success to Biden and the Democratic Party donors.
Yeah.
So they can't point out anything realistically that can win an election. Like,
God.
I mean, Roe is that is their only hope. If that didn't happen, they would lose 20 seats in the House, 5 in the Senate, and now it's going to be a nail biter, and they're going to lose one of them most likely.
Should we spin the wheel? Should we move on?
What do we? Did we have something?
Well, I'm always on
show the I'm sorry, the Yasser Pelosi clip. I mean, come on.
Yeah, so this is what people are going to focus on instead. Again, this is why Democrats are seen as being completely, out of touch with what regular people are desperate for. So this is where the focus is.
And that's what this is all about.
Secret Service said they have dissuaded him from coming to Capitol Hill. They told him they don't have the resources to protect him here. So at the moment he is not coming, but that could change.
Oh, he comes, I'm going to punch him out. This is my moment.
I would pay to see
I've
that.
been waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds. I'm going to punch him out, and I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to be happy.
I mean, there was so many people retweeting that, like, yeah, there's all that Yas Queen kind of BS.
You go, girl.
Punch him out. I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to, I'm sure they partied together in the Hamptons for, New Year's Eve or whatever. I know their grandchildren do. I mean, it's such performative kayfabe BS. It's so ridiculous, but people fall for it instead of what would really win elections. But, again, as soon as I understood, and it took a while, but, 2010, and you start to realize when it was revealed that Obama basically put Citibank dictated who his cabinet would be, right? And you're like, so they're all really working for the same people. They're just doing it in different costumes, right? So the Democrats get to pretend that they actually care about workers and they're doing their best. They just, they're fighting. It's just they're trying really hard. They believe in norms and don't protest that way, or we're not going to, don't be too angry. Try to be nice. Incrementalism, pragmatism. It's just little steps. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good and all that bullshit. But in the end, the Wall Street CEOs and the military industrial complex, they win no matter who's in power every time.
Right. And if saving democracy is so important, you would support popular policies, because that's how you get elected. That's how you win elections. You support what the people support. It's pretty elementary school level shit. Yeah. And they don't support these things, even though these things save money, like Medicare for all saves a shit ton of money. If you think protecting people from COVID is going to hurt you in the long run, no, because you've got a ridiculous, we'll get to COVID shit, but like, the things that they could do right now that would save money for the government and are hugely popular, they're not even trying to do.
People, like, what is our society becoming? And they know that it's crumbling. I mean, they absolutely know it. It's why billionaires are building bunkers. They know what's coming. And it's like they're, I heard, I wish I could remember his name. It was so smart. It was on The Lever on David Sirota's podcast, talking about these billionaires who are just trying to outrun the destruction they've caused. And how are they're like just always trying to escape it, but still need to employ the people who are going to do the actual work to keep them alive, who abhor them, right? Like, so
I'm going to get into I'm going to get into the bunker building game and booby trap them all or something, you know.
Oh, I thought you were going to provide a place for all of us to go. I'd like it to be on the beach with an open bar.
Maybe that's what we do. I set it up so where lasers cut them in half, and they like immediately, like the moat. If you're socialist or something, you can walk to their alligators are trained not to bite socialists or something.
I like it.
Figure something out.
All right, we're doing it.
Oh, look at my OCD. That bar is not lined up with a fist. It's going to drive me nuts.
Oh, no. Can we deal with it after?
Do you have to deal with it after?
Yeah, baby.
Or can we?
Yeah. Okay. I'm so excited for this clip. It's amazing, but I am going to take a shot because I feel like we're 37 minutes into our show. It's ridiculous. I'm calling an audible. Yeah. I'm just doing a quick one just because otherwise it feels like, I mean, what's the point? What's the point of this happy hour?
To fix that crazy wheel thing.
I was helping you out there.
All right, here's a shot.
All right, shot. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Oh my God. My bottles of vodka are really disappearing fast lately. It's crazy. I don't know what.
I think you should check your kids. You know, they might be snaking.
It is absolutely my kids, neither one of whom is home right now. But yeah, it must be.
It's that new dog of yours.
It's Lucky. Oh, she loves the vodka. Okay, I don't know if everyone's seen it, but yeah.
So I have to take Riot's work is on the wheel still. So okay, we'll just.
Oh, sorry, Pat. Am I messing with your OCD? I'm really sorry. All right, this should make everybody feel pretty happy. Here we go.
It is my great pleasure to present you with the Chiefs Award for Valor in recognition for your heroic efforts. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I'd like to give you an opportunity to say a few words.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I feel like I did what anyone would have done with the little bit of training that I have. I'm a certified firearms instructor. I work in this high school in Minneapolis. I'm a dad and a husband and a wonderful community member. That day, 9 of your squad cars raced past us as I was flagging them down. It said in the letter you sent me. And that was a potential of 18 people. 18 people could have stopped to help preserve life. But 18 people chose to go to a potential threat. And I recognized the man had a pistol and we didn't know what he was doing. I do appreciate the recognition, but I won't keep this stuff. This will go to my mom and this will probably go to my son, because I'm very uncomfortable being here with you guys. I do not rock with the police. but I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to say these things. And I just want folks to know that they don't keep us safe. We keep us safe. Riots work. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Alex.
I can take this with me?
This is for you.
Thank you. Y'all be safe out here.
Great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Is it box rated?
I mean, that's really courageous to do that in that setting. It's difficult to do. Riots work. Y'all don't keep us safe. We keep us safe. And the smash white supremacy, like,
yeah, I don't rock with the police. And then he makes the guy give him a fist bump and he's like, great work.
yeah, that's pretty impressive.
The beauty of it is he was very respectful during it. Like he was not like, let's burn the place
He protested
down.
The right way.
Fuck the police. Like he, know, well, I don't care how he did it.
I'm totally joking. I know you don't.
He didn't throw soup on him.
Yeah.
But no, he delivered a message that was clear. Like, thank you. 9 cops drove by, didn't stop to help the shooting victim. Not a priority to the police.
Yep.
I don't rock with the police because he knows his community isn't safer because of the police.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's Minneapolis also where he is. Right. So like, I mean, no community is safer because of the police, but like for sure they have seen constantly and for years what the police have brought to their communities. So yeah, that was pretty awesome. What else do we have for riots? Oh, well, yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to point out that and we Alec always has some great stuff debunking a lot of the narratives that the media pushes. And so here's a picture of the Harris County police force outside with the big "Stop Defunding the Police" sign. And the reality is they actually got more money than they've ever gotten this last cycle. So when people are like pushing this narrative, and when I say people, it's Democrats pushing this narrative that defunding the police hurt the Democratic Party. You could also just point out some facts like Alec is here, that this is bullshit. And all these police forces are getting incredibly bigger budgets under Biden, and Democrats are actively pushing for bigger police force budgets everywhere across the country.
Yep.
And it's bullshit. So stand up for what you believe in.
Yeah. And, the other thing is today in the U.S., corporations will steal $137 million in wages. Today, on one day, rich people will steal $2.75 billion in taxes, and 1,300 people will die from poverty, air pollution, and medical error. Think about who benefits from the news ignoring this and focusing on low-level crime instead, right? We hear about the fare evasions and the, traffic signal and the, looting of Walmart or Walgreens or whatever. And, listen, if you're working at Walgreens and somebody comes in and steals from you, and even, I don't know if the workers are punished, if they were on a shift when that's happening. I imagine that could be scary. I'm not taking it away from people who are victims of small crimes, but the fact that that's the whole focus of corporate media and not the disgusting wage theft of CEOs, or how they're ravaging our air and our water, and destroying whole communities. I mean, that's a choice that people are making where they put their focus.
Absolutely. And what we're really seeing is that they're expanding the police force for one. Well, I mean, just because police forces are racist, I mean, that's one reason to expand it, because you want to keep the socioeconomic issues the same. But as we've said before, you've got strikes coming. You've got workers rallying. They saw what happened with BLM, with people getting in the streets, and that they had to actually address these issues. And to the bad guys' credit, they were able to turn all of our angst in the streets from the BLM movement into a negative, and now the public in general has kind of turned on. I wouldn't say
they've changed
on
the approval, but the approval rating has definitely been decimated, and that was all that's all the work of Democrats, because obviously Republicans were always against it, but that's Democrats.
But my point with that is that they saw that there was some success, and that because of that, some things became issues, that had to be addressed by the Democratic Party, like police brutality, and they had to address it. What I was saying is that the evil part is they navigated it, and still it's a Democratic issue that they just run on and will just blanketly win on by doing nothing. So but the people in power see that there's a threat from people, the working class, poor people, people of color, standing up, and actually they could win things, is what it comes down to. So we beef up all these police forces. That's why no matter what happens, both parties are going to keep funding the shit out of the police forces, and Biden is overfunding the police forces right now.
I mean, double what Trump did. And so this is a case in point. Police in Boston are arresting striking workers at Cisco, the world's largest food distributor. Massive law enforcement presence and multiple people being loaded into the back of a police van. So, we saw the thing where the, domestic violent extremists, and it was put out a list of, who a domestic violent extremist could be. And I think when people hear that, a lot of times they think, oh, it's white supremacists. It's people, it's like the Ted Kaczynskis or the people who blow up buildings. But listed in there, along with all those people, were, anti-fascists, people who don't support capitalism, people who don't support the government, people who are pro-abortion, people who are, there are a lot of people who fall under their definition of what a domestic violent extremist is. And I think we all really need to be very aware that it's coming for us.
If you just look on the surface, the easiest thing is how many people have Antifa activists, radicals, the worst people in Antifa, which there aren't many. But like a handful of people have died in the whole existence of Antifa. And it's not some like targeted, it's nothing. Like the idea that they would be listed with these groups that have, existed for decades, terrorizing people, killing,
like white supremacists, people who lynch people, who like blow up synagogues. Yeah,
they are not exactly. They're not the same, which is why when you see some of these people that were on the left that are now like anti-Antifa, they're horseshit. They're bullshit.
Yeah,
like Hinkle and those fucking clowns. Like they're bullshit.
That's what happens when your only ideology is clout.
Anti-establishment. Oh, clout. Yeah, it's not even anti-establishment. It's just clout.
Yeah, it's just like wherever the wind blows. All right, should we go to the next one? It's 48 minutes. We haven't even landed on a real shot yet.
Yeah,
Crazy.
baby.
Yeah, baby.
That's my version of yes. Oh, we get to erase that.
Yeah, you get to erase.
My OCD is so happy about that.
The OCD is, feeling a little bit relaxed. Okay.
And I'm just going to say
land on a shot? Yeah. Great minds.
Although we're not removing it, so we're shot heavy the rest of the show.
I love it. That's how we should be. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. I'm going to spin it as I pour my next shot.
Okay, good.
Yeah, baby.
Look at that.
I don't even know what
now we're in the groove. I knew it was going to happen. It was a slow burn. It was a slow burn to kick in.
All right. If I have to, I will have another.
You have to twist my arm.
Cheers.
Cheers. I probably shouldn't have made my mixer also have vodka in it.
That's probably a bad call.
It's like double dipping.
And I mean, I'm gonna let a little. I'm gonna let the what is it? What's that saying about the hot dogs?
Oh, how the sausage is made.
I'm gonna let people know how the sausage is made. Okay. I'm not doing a full shot here. I'm doing a little cheater shot because I mean, I can't do like a gigantic shot.
I
have work tomorrow, so it's like
I have to be honest. I can't either.
It's a baby shot.
But I also have vodka in my mixer, and then I just want everybody to remember I still have to go drink my wine after this. Like after the show,
post show, that's family time.
I'm still drinking wine. Yeah, so like, there's a lot that still has to happen tonight, and I do have vodka in here too.
That's good.
All right,
I'm spinning.
All right.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, good stuff.
Okay. This has got to be what a week, what a world, what our political discourse has devolved into. If you thought that Jerry Nadler shitting his pants on stage, last year or 2 years ago, and like slowly moseying off was the worst of your feed for Jerry Nadler, enter Mike Itkes, who is challenging him and wants to make porn sex positive. So,
which, I mean, kudos. Like, okay, I just want to say, like, we support sex positivity. Sex work is work. But to actively add a porno to your campaign to show that you're supporting sex work,
I think that might be his only platform.
So many levels. I don't know what he stands for, but I mean, his positions. We know his positions. If you see, there's one of his positions.
We definitely know his positions. 15-minute porn. By the way, I didn't know that Pornhub was free. I learned that today watching a 13-minute. I didn't know that.
How do I cut your mic? This is such a lie.
No, I pay for my porn. I pay for it. No, I didn't realize it. I was like, wait, I can just go on and then it's just all coming at you super fast.
Yeah, watch out. There's so many dicks.
I mean, and like the pop-up ads. I mean, it is crazy. But that seems to be his only platform. It's just kind of, I mean, it's just lighthearted sort of fun. But yeah.
But so I mean, I want to say, like, okay, if he's a joke candidate and he's not actually going to win this thing, and somehow he's trying to push the
Overton window.
Help me out. The Overton window. He's pushing the Overton window left on sex issues by normalizing them because a political campaign is actually embracing them. Great. Like, if it actually changes things, and it's not, but he's being seen as a joke appropriately because this wasn't an issue to him before this. Like, this was he wasn't.
It's a way of getting attention, right? I mean.
And
the runs, that's a better platform than virtually all of Congress. I mean, honestly, it does so much less damage than what most of these jokers are doing. But it does it feels like a joke.
It's not good for you. This is like Joe Biden behind a 16-year-old. I mean, I know it's not the same, but it's like, why don't you normalize sexual relations with someone closer to your age? I mean, just put it out there.
I mean, I hear you. I don't know if this happens on all of the Pornhub videos, but like there was that woman was the director. She's the star and the director of the 13-minute video, Nicole somebody, and she announces who she presents herself, says that she is, completely what's it called when everybody has a consenting adult. She's doing this out of her own volition. They both tested positive. Like there was something really actually nice about the intro to it. It was very like, I mean, it wasn't sexy, but it was very, we're both on the same page here. We're both willing and able adults and whatever, all the kind of stuff. Yeah.
Good.
But it does just the whole political arena right now feels so trivialized on so many different ways that we're going to like Yaz Queen Nancy Pelosi for eating her Slim Jim while she says she's going to punch Trump out and get arrested and tearing up her pet. Like everything just feels so silly and performative that this just kind of feels like the next step with like, I mean, porn's great.
Look.
I love it. I love naked bodies. It's all fantastic. But like, I don't know. People are dying. Can we talk about something?
Okay, but
yeah.
If you want to beat Nadler, I don't know.
Nadler.
You have to be seen as a serious candidate. And this does not, this act of doing this does not come across as a serious candidate. And the reality is you have to appeal to normie Democrats on some level to get their votes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we'll get into another candidate that has embraced sex stuff, and it's different, but this is seen as a stunt because it was announced as a stunt.
Yeah.
It was announced as a way to push sex stuff, sex positivity.
Yeah, and because he's not talking about anything serious. It's actually, like if we're going to say it's the economy stupid, like, yes, absolutely sex positivity and people should be able to do whatever they want to consenting adults or 3 or 5 or whatever. But there's
7's the max.
So how many, I'm like counting.
You can only double hole so many.
Oh my God. Okay. So I mean, do you want to?
It's geometry.
It's just physics. It's just how does it all work?
Well, so look at let's see how it played out in the comments because I enjoyed these.
Yeah, the comments. Some of the comments were pretty funny. I was hoping for more action. The camera angles suck and no money shot. Come on, man. If you want to run for Congress, learn how to fuck one person before you try to fuck millions. I don't want to comment on the cinematography or anybody's performance in that video at all, but I did like the second part of that, learn how to fuck one person before you fuck millions. It's kind of a funny.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the second part of the video. Like it morphed into something interesting. Like, I didn't like that one position, but all right. I'm not even going to show the second comment because it's whatever.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. But so, okay. So let's talk about Alexandra Hunt, who, she's a sex worker. She has a OnlyFans account. She's done other sex work, but she's embraced sex work in her entire campaign from the start.
Right. But she also has, sorry, I just want to say, because yes, she does talk about it a lot, especially because I think she knew that would be, when they're trying to smear her, they would look into her past and realize that I think she was a sex worker during college and maybe continued, but, so she really embraced it, as you said, but she also had a platform of, Green New Deal, living wage, Medicare for all, ending our wars, like she had a big platform that was progressive.
I challenge any leftist to disagree with anything on our platform because she's with us entirely.
Right. So a study came out, I think yesterday, that showed that a third of men under 30 have not had sex ever. A third of men under 30. I think that's in the US.
So I want to add an asterisk to this.
Yeah.
So it turns out this study was it was not ever. It was over the last 2 years or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's still crazy, but yeah.
It did change the dynamics of the study, but it doesn't really change where this story went.
Right. So she posted that and then posted another tweet that said, we should be moving toward a right to sex. People should be able to have sex when they feel they want to, and we need to develop services that meet people's needs without attaching the baggage of shame or criminalization. So let's talk about sex. We need to bring these discussions to the spotlight. Normalizing healthy, positive sex will have too many downstream benefits to list. We need to move past our history of shame. It's time to bring sex into the light. And boy, did it not go well for her on Twitter yesterday.
Well, and that's kind of the amazing, and this is where what is our title? The woke war 3.
Yeah,
this is where the wokeness kind of gets in my way a little bit.
Yeah,
like you need to take her at what she's talking about and not instantly bad faith attack what she's saying. She's a literal sex worker, so people took what she was saying as like incels should be able to
have a right to like take over
right
your body.
Sex I mean, bodily
and I also
autonomy.
think she's a victim of sexual abuse also. Like she's she doesn't take it lightly. She's not like, oh yeah, I mean, you know, like people were absolutely, as you said, taking those comments in bad faith and trying to turn it into something that was not intended by her, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, I have actual, you know, like Twitter friends who took it the wrong way, which this is always awkward, but I understand like the issue being that important that you wanted to clarify, but she literally clarified what she meant. Like if you took it in the wrong direction, she clarified that this wasn't about, you know, anyone having obligation or a right to anyone else's body.
Right.
None of it was about that. It was about, she was making a comment about there should be legalized, you know, prostitution, sex. So an incel can go somewhere to get sex because sex is a thing that these people need. And because there's someone willing to fulfill that need for the price, you know, and whatever. But,
and you know, taking the stigma away from and the shame away that's often attached to sex. And I know like a lot of people wanted her to go deeper and say, well, what is the reason? Why are these men not having sex? Are they emotionally stunted? Are they angry? Are they, you know, they don't belong to community? We need to figure out ways of having people belong to community. And I do think that there are bigger projects that I feel are probably more important, even though I 100% think nobody should feel shame about sex or sexuality. And, you know, certainly in my home growing up, we talked about it at a very early age. My mother is an artist. We had, you know, naked sculptures all over our house. I've talked about it with my kids from a very early age. And I sort of think that that was more what she was talking about, even if I don't think that just allowing people to have sex whenever they want is going to solve our country's problems, but also like, what else are people suggesting? You know, like, yes, Medicare for all, yes, a living wage, some kind of sense of community. I don't know. I felt sort of bad because I feel like it was taken out of things were being assigned to her that I don't think she intended.
And that's where I land on it. Like, I mean, I agree with everyone's comments against what they thought her opinion was.
Right.
But I don't think they fairly assessed what she was actually saying.
Yeah.
You know,
it just feels sad to me because I think people are so angry right now, rightly so, and feel so disenfranchised that this coalition that, you know, somehow Bernie was able to bring together hundreds of millions of us in this country. And then as soon as he backed out, it feels like everyone's just kind of partitioned to, you know, it's like we've been balkanized and everybody is finding what's wrong with people who we used to call our allies.
Right.
I don't know. Sometimes it just feels like we're all, you know, I don't want to do like the Obama thing of a circular firing squad, because I do believe that people should be criticized and give people a chance to respond to that criticism. But some of like the vitriol seems unwarranted.
I mean, and that's where I land on the woke stuff, you know, like obviously like to be an ally to me and my friends and, you know, to the community, I think is important. You have to support most of the issues. You can't be like someone who's anti-trans, you know, like that person sees the world these are value issues that like I can't align with. And someone, you know, whatever those issues are for you, you know, it could be sex work is part of that. And I think the same, like sex work is work, you know, whatever. There's some things that separate you, like, you know, it doesn't mean I don't want you to support Medicare for all, but like, it doesn't mean we're going to like get in a group together and all be pals.
Yeah.
If we disagree on some of these core issues, you know, it's kind of like who I would date. Like, you know, I would not be an asshole to someone who disagreed on me one of these issues, but I'm not going to date them. And that's kind of what like political Twitter and that world sees things as more of that world. They're like more, you disagree on one thing, like, holy shit, you know, but I don't know. It's all murky. I don't want to, alienate anyone. That's the problem, is like there's such an alienation. And the woke thing is like, okay, if you're gonna beef with someone on these issues, at least like allow, like, are we not in a place where we can talk about them? Like, so she's discussing this and saying, I didn't mean that. And you know, like we should have that discussion. Discussion is the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if what, you know, some of the criticism was, let's talk about community and coming together in different ways. But like, how do you have that if there are certain subjects or words, if you use a phrase in a certain way, or you didn't have enough qualifiers, that all of a sudden, you know, every other thing that she's talked about and her, you know, leftist or progressive platform is sort of like ignored in order to try to make the point that what she said in that tweet was wrong. And I understand why some people felt that it was it could be taken the wrong way. But anyway, it just felt, you know, I hate seeing all of the people who I like come to blows. It just feels sad.
Well, and I think, you know, we can all be wrong on it. Like we can disagree on our take on that opinion and still have a discussion and not like think it's the end of the world, which I think is what a lot of people, you know, that's the wokeness part, is like not the wokeness part is just shutting down discussion. That's
exactly.
Like, I don't care about, there's no punishment for most of these people that aren't woke or whatever. It's just bullshit. But like, we should talk about all these issues. I mean, like trans people want trans issues talked about, you know, but they don't want to obviously be bashed, you know, but discussion about these things matters. And all these issues, any issue you talk about, that's some disenfranchised group, like you're only going to push those issues farther if you allow people that disagree a little bit to into the discussion so you can win them over.
Exactly. You know? Yeah. Discussion's important. All right, let's spin the wheel. It's 6:07. We've been discussing the hell out of stuff. Let's go.
You were supposed to give me a few more minutes to say something so I could be canceled forever.
I know. I'm getting worried.
And I could stop doing this free shit we do.
Baby.
Never. All right. Climate soup. So we all know that we are in dire straits with climate disaster in this country. This past, what was it, 2 days ago, I think, 2 young women went to, where is that actually? I don't even know where that Van Gogh painting is. Is that in England, in the UK? And threw soup on Van Gogh's sunflowers. And the outrage was crazy, especially knowing that there was a shield in front of that painting. It wasn't damaged at all. I'm actually more concerned because then they super glued their hands to the wall. I don't know how that came off, right?
I mean, that's a thing that activists do these days. They're super gluing themselves.
How do you get it off without taking all the
I mean, I think there's an anti-super glue. I don't.
But do you think that the cops who came to arrest them did that, or do you think they just yanked them off?
So as an electrician, I would go with my oscillating tool and cut a box around their hand. That's what I would. I would leave that for the doctors to solve, because I don't want to fuck with that. And that's my, if any cops are watching, I know we have a lot of cop watchers.
Sure. That's our biggest demographic. Yeah.
Get yourself an oscillating tool.
But people were really pissed. And then the counter to that was, well, at least we're talking about it, because as a reminder, on Earth Day, what was that, April 20th, 22nd, Wynn Bruce set himself on fire. Self-immolated, set himself on fire at the Supreme Court and died. And that was a blip. Nobody talked about it.
So you've got a guy who literally dies, who was in client science himself.
Trying to bring awareness, setting himself on fire. Yeah,
and that got, there were a million articles written about it, but it on TV. It didn't make CNN and MSNBC. It wasn't
the outrage, like somebody heard a painting.
I mean, I wish, there are groups that like study how much attention something gets, but if you compare that to how much attention the Van Gogh soup got, it's off the charts. Like the Van Gogh soup thing was the biggest crime to culture in the last 100 years, if you watch the press.
Yeah. And
the whole time, I mean, the thing is, like, there was glass in front of it. There's no risk to the actual painting.
Right.
And even if there was, that's another story. Like, we're talking about things that don't matter. Compare.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that it would be a bad strategic move. It's going to turn people against you if you actually damage a Van Gogh painting. I'm an art history major from college, by the way, so.
Yeah, I mean, I get it too. And I know, like, what's the right way to protest. And, something I hear a lot from my liberal friends when I'm talking about politics is, well, if you talk that way to us, you're turning me off. I mean, don't you want to win me over? And I always feel like, well, like, what am I winning you over from? Like, why is the default that you are siding with the healthcare insurance industry that kills 70,000 people a year by denying them coverage? Like, why is that your default? What have they done to win you over? I'm saying I believe that everyone deserves a dignified life, a living wage, healthcare, clean air, and water. That I would think should be everybody's, just what we all believe. But now you need me to like hold your hand and be kind to you and talk to you in a certain way so that I don't push you away from something that should just be the default. Like the moral bankruptcy it takes to say that I need to be won over to think that other people deserve to live a healthy life.
Well, and it's crazy because, like, what's the argument for not explaining why she did this? I mean, crime, like it's crime, I mean, that's but why doesn't the press ever point out why people do things?
Right.
Like, a guy literally lost his life who was a climate activist.
Yep.
And why aren't they pointing that out?
9 million people die every year from air pollution. Every year, 9 million people. That could, I mean, you could just do that headline every single day. How about even just like the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which is, I think, one of the biggest ecological acts of terrorism that's ever happened. It's just, shooting that poison into the water. We're not even talking about it anymore.
Well, I think we should show the activist herself and why she did it.
Yeah.
I think it lays the important part of doing a radical action is to draw attention to the cause.
Right.
And if you look at it from that perspective, it was a tremendous success, in my opinion, because this was no one was talking about this stuff. So maybe the kids are our future, because this is actually on TikTok. And old people aren't going to hear this stuff. They're not going to watch CNN and get any other view other than, oh, this young lady attacked this art.
Right.
But let's hear from her.
Trusty soup can, bottom my brand now. I would like to make one thing perfectly clear. We did no damage to the painting whatsoever. I was in court yesterday, heard that there's been minimal damage done to the frame, which is repairable and replaceable, and absolutely no damage done to the painting. It was behind glass, and we never ever would have considered doing it if we didn't know that it was behind glass and that we wouldn't do any damage. I mean, literally, we were sat there still glued to the wall. They wiped it off with a bit of kitchen roll. I recognise that it looks like a slightly ridiculous action. I agree, it is ridiculous, but we're not asking the question, should everybody be throwing soup on paintings? What we're doing is getting the conversation going so we can ask the questions that matter. Questions like, is it okay that Liz Truss is licensing over 100 new fossil fuel licenses? Is it okay that fossil fuels are subsidised 30 times more than renewables when offshore wind is currently 9 times cheaper than fossil fuels? Is it okay that it is there in action that has led us to the cost of living crisis? Where this winter people are going to be forced to choose between heating and eating? This is the conversation we need to be having now, because we don't have time to waste. Last year, Sir David King said what we do in the next 3 to 4 years will determine the future of humanity. So we're using these actions to get media attention because we need to get people talking about this now. And we know that civil resistance works. History has shown us that it works. I'm stood here today as a queer woman, and the reason that I'm able to vote, the reason I'm able to go to university, hopefully someday marry the person I love, is because of people who have taken part in civil resistance before me.
So I love that. I love everything she said. I guess I would say that yes, people are talking about it, but and I'm not blaming them. You know, listen, I haven't done any big action like that. I don't know what the action is that's actually going to force fossil fuel companies to stop doing, to stop destroying our climate, our world. Like, who's going to do that? Like, who should be the target? What would be a better target? Because yes, people are talking about it, but then what's the next step? Because and again, I'm not blaming these two young women. I think that they're actually really brave. And yes, they did bring it into the conversation, but then I guess maybe the rest of us, it's the onus is on us. And like, great, we're talking about it. So now what? Like, now what's going to happen? Because we know that, Biden opened up more fossil fuel permits to companies than even Trump did, right? We know that Gavin Newsom is doing the same thing, our progressive governor out here. So like, what would be the good target?
Yeah, and I think if you look at attacking an artist in a museum, and like, what is more bourgeois than art? I mean, I understand that everyone appreciates fine art on some level, but like, does it matter? I mean, that I was a literal art history major in college, and like, you could erase all these, like, what matters to regular people from it is not like how many people get to see these things in person.
Right.
Like, in seeing them in person is nothing more than just like a I don't know, it's like a narcissistic move almost. Like, it's almost like, I can afford to go see this painting, but the painting exists, it's on print, you can look at it. I mean, you're not going to get much more out of seeing any of these art things in person. I'm telling you, as a literal.
I'm good. All right, I'm gonna nitpick. I'm gonna cancel you here because I do think that sometimes there is a difference.
Yeah, but okay. When you look at the world and all the things going on, these things, if you put them into perspective,
right?
Like,
no, of course, like the difference between a person's life and a piece of art,
which is
yeah.
the whole point. When you take away the fact that they could have actually harmed the thing, but they couldn't have actually harmed it.
Yeah, then 100%.
It's a thing. It's like, we're not talking about something curtain. We're talking about something old that somebody painted 200 years ago or 150 years ago with Van Gogh stuff. Like, if nobody gets to see that thing in person again, and I've been to the Van Gogh Museum, I've seen this stuff, but it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. I'm not saying that art is irrelevant, but like, compared to the end of the world, which is the whole point. The end of the world is at stake fucking now.
I agree with you. I mean, I have some quibbles, but I agree with, I understand your point, right? Like, obviously, I'm cutting your mic. I saw Matt Taibbi write something about that action makes me want to,
in so many ways.
Yeah, wrote something about like that makes me want to go out and I don't know exactly how he phrased it, like buy 5 Chevrolet, whatever he said. Oops, we were both doing it. Yeah. A dozen Buick Electras and leave their engines running around the clock. If there's such a thing as anti-activism, that's it, right? So in other words, he's saying that action actually repels him, who would normally be sympathetic to climate activism.
Well, there is the argument because their group, the woman we showed, is funded by, I don't know, what is it?
Some big oil, like
she's like the grand, I don't know what.
I think she's like a Getty heiress or something. Yeah,
a Getty heiress or something. But you can't. I don't understand how. I really don't think you can look at what she did in totality with her views and think that she's not on our side about the climate.
I agree. And then this was the next step, because at first I was like, really, Matt Taibbi? Like, oh, she didn't protest the right way, especially knowing that she didn't hurt the art. But then he wrote this next thing, which said, dystopian novels like Fahrenheit 451, We, and 1984 all predicted a future where people aren't merely indifferent to art, but hate and fear it to the point of taking pride in destroying or demeaning it. And I do think that that's an important point to bring up. Not for this one action. I really don't have a problem with this one action, and the fact that we're talking about it like that, that's effective. But I do think to devalue art and artists, I know that wasn't your point, but like,
I don't care.
I just think
Let's go.
They could have chosen something that is a more deserving target of their activism, and maybe that would have been a better action, but who knows? I mean, I don't know.
No, I think it's one of those things where, okay, so as an activist, you want as much attention as possible on your thing. So regardless, they got a shit ton of attention on this. Now, I understand the fine line is that they did something that could be portrayed easily by the media as native to their cause. So, I mean, it could, if you don't have control of the media, that event could actually hurt your cause.
Right.
Which is the argument. And I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like the defund thing. It's like, well, this got attention, just like defund the police got attention.
Yeah.
And now if we had some media actually pointing out why this happened and
the art wasn't hurt and why they did. Yeah.
If there was fair representation of the event, it would be seen differently. But this is where I think things are starting to change a little bit. This is the one thing I always think gives us hope, is that young people aren't watching all the disinformation about this event. Young people are watching the TikTok we just saw. They're watching, I mean, don't get your news from TikTok. That's not going to work out too well for you. But like, they're not so bombarded with misinformation as people my age and older who watch CNN and MSNBC all the time.
Right.
So they're looking at things differently.
Yeah.
So was it a success or a failure?
I think I agree. I think it was a success getting people talking about it, but now we just need to move to the next action that actually affects some change, because it feels I don't know. We got to
a riot.
We need a riot. Riots work.
Riots do work.
Riots work. All right, it's 6:23. What are you thinking?
I think we need one more topic.
One more topic.
I feel like we do, right?
I think you're right.
Am I wrong?
No. I think you're right. I think you're right.
Our topic to shot ratio is kind of fucked. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
This could end badly, but let's get one more topic.
Baby.
I'm going to pour it out.
Crazy. Cannot imagine that we landed on shot. Crazy.
I'm going to solve this by removing all instances. Thank you, Windows 98 or whatever this is.
I know. Thank you, Bill Gates, for creating this beautiful program.
Look at that.
All right, you got your shot. Cheers.
Oof. They just keep getting better. All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
what's
baby.
Gonna be?
What do we got? All right, everyone gets they get a vacation from my COVID lecturing.
Yeah, although there's some good stuff there, but I'm sure it will still be pertinent next week. Okay, Putin's puppet. So, the whole reason that we called this Woke War 3 is because I think, right-wing guy, David Sachs, wrote I'm looking for it, sorry, my eyes are kind of spinning, an op-ed in Newsweek talking about...
Got it.
Okay, yeah, good. So this was
Whoops.
that was the
Checked
op-ed,
wrong.
right? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
okay.
right.
Neocons and the woke left are joining hands and leading us to Woke War 3. And the excerpt from that is so I think you guys remember last week, I think Elon Musk put out a poll, basically, and I think, he's spent like $80 million with Starlink, like getting internet service to Ukraine, which is basically helping them get communication from NATO and the US and defending themselves from Russian.
But really, it's getting him good, positive press as a company. It was the whole thing.
Of course. But so he put out a poll, like, don't you think that we should push Ukraine and Russia to the table and negotiate for some kind of peace? And was right away like lambasted from everybody, from the David Frums and neocons.
You can't talk about peace.
You cannot talk about peace. And also the titular left, the liberals, who all have the Ukrainian flag in their handles and stuff. And what he wrote was, what matters in this story is not that Musk was told off, but rather that a Twitter hive mind is using the same intolerant cancellation tactics that they use to shut down debate on domestic political issues in order to shape U.S. policy towards Ukraine. They are doing so by demonizing dissent, defaming opponents, and closing off as ideologically unacceptable any path to peace or even de-escalation. The online mob has decided that any support for a negotiated settlement, even proposals that Zelensky himself appeared to support at the beginning of the war, is tantamount to taking Russia's side, denouncing voices of compromise and restraint as Putin apologists. So what that does is there is just no way out of this apart from complete victory by Ukraine, which is never going to happen.
Well, now, I don't know who it was, but one of the Zelensky's top guys was saying something like negotiations from Ukraine's perspective involve getting their old countries taken back that were not involved in this recent skirmish.
Right.
So
like
how
even
do we
repossessing Crimea?
Repossessing Crimea and Donbass and I don't know, whatever.
Well, Donbass is where they just had the referendum, which, but yeah. But yeah, even going back to taking Crimea back, which is just not going to happen. And if you talk about it realistically, if you talk about the fact that, they keep saying this unprovoked war, all of the propaganda that has gone into shaping this as a fight for democracy and Zelensky as being some kind of hero, the whole thing of like, no, there are no Nazis there. And then every single picture or video of the military and even, members of their government has somebody who's a Banderite or has swastikas all over him. And so then they say, well, there's only a few Nazis. And then, they keep having to like scrub out or put shirts on the people who have swastikas all over them. And they say, well, now so it went from there are no Nazis, that's Russian propaganda, to it's just a few Nazis, to, well, every country has Nazis. Like, they just keep changing it. And it's all in order to decide that there are lots of conflicts going on in the world that we are not funding. So why this one?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it all comes down to, which comes down to oil and resources and
Yeah. And anybody who is on the wrong side of this debate, according to the neocons and the neolibs, are you're Putin's puppet.
Well, I'm Putin's puppet. I mean, that much I know.
Yeah. But, and so, there was the protester at the AOC town hall a few days ago. And, as sort of non-linear as his thinking was, and bringing in Tulsi Gabbard, which I don't think she's some big proponent of peace. But the truth is, he was saying, why do you keep voting to fund this war and to send billions of dollars of weapons to Ukraine? And instead of responding to him in good faith, She basically said, "Oh, those are Putin's talking points." Yeah, this was her.
Let me lean in and
lean in.
Try to read this. The time they were that's
time they were parroting. Yeah. That's the second
you probably have it better. Go for it.
No, really?
No,
oh my God.
This time they were parroting pro-Putin talking points. It's not anti-war to support Russia's imperialist project to invade and seize neighboring countries, either Ukraine. Okay. The issue is like, it's not anti-war to support you, Russia. Sure. But you're not Putin's puppet either if you don't support Ukraine. I mean, why do they have to label this dynamic involved and not look at it from an imperialism standpoint? Like, if you put ourselves in the mix as an imperialist and Russia as an imperialist, which is both true, you do not see defending Ukraine necessarily as a must on the left. And there's nuance. You could disagree, but like, to label anyone that doesn't side with Ukraine as Putin puppets is very
or even people who do side with Ukraine, but part of siding with them is not wanting to see the total destruction of their country and nuclear war for all of us, right? Like, I mean, they're being used as cannon fodder now.
And that's the point, is that anyone pushing for negotiation is seen as a Putin puppet because you want to negotiate instead of win this war.
Right.
You got to win this war. And you hear all the time on NPR. I listen to NPR every fucking day. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's because I used to listen to CNN and MSNBC every day to understand the narratives against, but I just can't do it. Anyway, but I hear every day, Putin's war, they call it Putin's war, and Ukraine has to win this thing. And they have people on every day who say they have to win this thing. And it's like, it's domino theory, communism, stop communism. It's the same thing. It's like, instead of negotiating this thing, you got to stop him because he's not going to negotiate. He's going to just conquer territories and keep going after territory after territory.
Yeah, he's going to take over all of Europe. If we don't stop him there, he's going to take over, which there's no reason to think that that's the case. And also, like, okay, maybe, I don't know, but like, let's work for the negotiation. I mean, we shut that down. The US and NATO and UK shut that down. Zelensky wanted to negotiate and we shut that down. So, that is not, we're not acting in Ukraine's best interest on any level. And so it was just really, go ahead.
Well, because they could win, Ukraine could win this war. Technically, they win it by keeping Russia from coming into the country. But Russia has flattened the entire country of Ukraine. Right. There is no Ukraine left because they have the military might to do that. We don't have the military might to stop that. And that's what happens. Like, the farther you get along in this thing, Russia is not going to look like they lost this war ever.
Right.
They're just going to flatten Ukraine. I mean, that's what people are fighting for, who are supporting Ukraine without negotiations.
Right.
If you're anti-negotiation.
That's the outcome. Well, now they've started shelling civilian areas, shutting down the infrastructure. They just announced martial law in Russia.
Russia has destroyed, like, I think 30 or 40% of Ukraine's energy sources are now destroyed. So, I mean, imagine running a country with no energy. You can't, I mean, okay, you can win the country, but there's no power supply to your entire country, which could happen easily because Russia has like these kamikaze drones they drop in, it's just.
Yeah. So, but again, just so disappointing that even if you are somebody who thinks absolutely, Ukraine needs to just fight this and we're going to keep supplying them with weapons and flooding the market, even though only 30% of them, we even know where they go. But like, to not even be able to have a conversation about negotiating and looking towards peace, which at some point, whenever it is, there's going to be a negotiation and compromise. Like, it's going to end that way. Somebody is going to, and how many lives do we lose during that time?
if you don't want negotiation as a way out, what the fuck are you going for? You're going for World War III. That's literally it. I mean, Russia has talked about using their nuclear weapons strategically, you know, like small, localized, whatever. That's awful.
It's horrible.
We've said the same. We've used the same rhetoric back. And
no, it's so again, it's that idea of like, you know, we know that Obama didn't give weapons to Ukraine because he knew that this is exactly what would happen, that Ukraine is pivotal in the safety of Russia, and all this would do is further tensions. So the fact that Ukraine, which is a non-NATO country, sorry, I just want to put that up for 1 second with Obama, is going to be vulnerable to military domination by Russia no matter what we do. This is an example of where we have to be very clear about what our core interests are and what we're willing to do to go to war for. So he didn't give them weapons, did not sell them weapons. You know who did? Putin's puppet, Trump. He also put sanctions on Russia for the gas pipeline and argued very heavily. And, you know, he's a moron. I can't stand him. But, like, you know, did not want Nord Stream pipeline to go through and really chastised Germany for making the deal with Russia.
And we had a whole like 3-minute video of him attacking
German diplomats. Yeah.
In a meeting with the German diplomats, ripping them apart. But like, I don't want to suggest to anyone that Trump was good on this, but like, if you're going to make the Putin puppet argument, like, have some logic behind it. Like, if our show, if Lila and our show is helping Putin, like,
so was Obama.
I mean, I'm just,
right.
But just point out why and talk about it. Like, labeling people with stuff is ridiculous. And that's all
it
they've
just
got.
shuts down conversation.
That's the whole point, is they're trying to shut down all discussion of these things.
Yeah.
Like, we've been banned from talking about Nazis in Ukraine. Like, that's gotten like, what, 3 shows kicked off of here?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Hey, it's 6:37.
It is probably time to go.
I think we gotta wrap this puppy up.
What did the Blues Brothers say? I don't care where you go, but you can't stay here or something. I don't know. I don't even know.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, because I was trying to read all the comments, and I did see Reflect the Sun was writing about climate stuff, which I'm gonna have to go back and look, because I really don't know enough about it, and I couldn't read it fast enough as I'm drinking my shots and trying to move on. But please don't think that we're ignoring you if we don't get to your comments. We really appreciate you guys always just showing up and hanging with us, but also commenting and engaging. It's really it makes this a really fun, I used to say a fun hour, and we've slowly crept into not like hour and a half, hour 38 minutes. So thank you for joining
us. Much appreciated.
Cheers everybody. Thank you for joining us. Have a great week. Stay safe out there. Keep punching up.